Hello, my dear brothers and sisters. Hello, my dear friends. Happy Sunday to all of you. This is Bobby Kitain and welcome to Pathways of Hope. Today I want to share with you my reflection on the Gospel, Matthew 15, verses 21 to 28. Many years ago, I heard a preacher say that if there's a big challenge right in front of you, don't let that challenge push you away from God, but rather place the challenge behind you to push you closer to Him. I am reminded of this teaching when I read the Gospel for today, because I realized that that's exactly what the woman did in today's Gospel. There was a big challenge right in front of her, a wall which prevented her from receiving what she wanted from Jesus. It was the wall of unworthiness. You see, she was a Canaanite. And in the time of Jesus, Canaanites were not part of God's people. They were actually Gentiles. And not only that, they were enemies of God's people. They were notorious for human sacrifices and idolatry. But in today's gospel, we see that this woman placed that wall of unworthiness behind her to push her closer to Jesus even more through perseverance. She persevered despite her unworthiness. But not only was she a Canaanite, she was also a woman. And in the time of Jesus, women were considered second-class citizens. They had no value apart from their husbands. And so this woman had two things going against her. She was a Canaanite and she was a woman. And therefore, she was unworthy of God's favor. And yet, she did not allow that wall of unworthiness to push her away from God, but rather she placed it behind her to push her closer to the Lord. But there was another wall. It was the wall of unanswered prayers. When she came to Jesus, Jesus responded to her with silence. Now, di ba nangyayari din sa atin yan? Sino sa inyo dito na pag nagdasal kayo, minsan parang tahimik ang Diyos? Naalala niyo pa ba yung kantang, natutulog ba ang Diyos? Is God asleep? Why is He silent to my prayers? That was how Jesus responded to her the first time she asked. Jesus was silent. Eventually, when she kept on asking, Jesus eventually turned her down. Jesus said no to her. And yet, she placed that wall of unanswered prayers behind her to push her closer to the Lord. Now, this teaching is very close to my heart because I've experienced that firsthand in my life. Almost 30 years ago, I was a young man in the university and I hit rock bottom. I was heavily into my vices and bumabagsak na yung mga grades ko. I was on the brink of being kicked out from my course. But then, by the grace of God, instead of allowing my situation to push me away from God, I placed my situation behind me to push me closer to Him. And so I attended that retreat, which changed my life forever. Brothers and sisters, what is that wall in front of you? Is it a wall of unworthiness? Maybe you're into deep sin and you feel that God will not answer your prayers because of your sinfulness. Or maybe it's a wall of unanswered prayers. You have been praying to God for such a long time now and God has not answered your prayer. Do not allow that wall to separate you from God, but rather place that wall behind you to push you closer to Him through persevering prayer. But I guess the biggest question in your minds right now as you read this gospel is, but why did Jesus say no to her in the first place? Years ago, my son Franco actually asked us for a Nintendo Switch. Now, we could have given him the Nintendo Switch right away, but we chose not to. We said, you wait until Christmas. It was months before Christmas, and he waited until Christmas. Why did we do that? Because we knew that patience and perseverance would bring something good out of him. It would bring out a lot of character traits, good character traits in his life. Humility, patience, perseverance, all these things, they will come out if you don't answer their prayers right away. I believe this was what Jesus was doing in this situation. In some ways, Jesus was saying no to the woman because he needed to bring something out of that woman. One was humility. Second was faith. And perhaps perseverance as well. And so if God has not been answering your prayers right now, persevere. Continue to have faith. Continue to humble yourself before the Lord because God is bringing something good out of what you're going through right now. Do not let that wall separate you from God, but rather put it behind you to push you closer to Him. And in God's own way and in God's own time, just like in the situation of the Canaanite woman, Jesus will answer your prayers. God bless you.